We move on now to invite Mrs. Roshni Nadar Malhotra, Chairperson, HCL Technologies and Trustee, Shiv Nadar Foundation. Roshni Nadar Malhotra is the chairperson of HCL Technologies, a leading global technology organization with a market capitalization of $35 billion and the chairperson of its CSR board committee. She is a trustee of the Shiv Nadar Foundation, which has invested $988 million in nation-building institutions and driving transformational leadership since inception in 1994. Passionate about wildlife and conservation, Roshni established the Habitats Trust in 2018, which aims to work towards protecting India's natural habitats and its indigenous species. In recognition of her outstanding work, both in business and philanthropy, Roshni has received several honors and accolades, including being featured in the world's 100 Most Powerful Women, the list compiled and released by Forbes in 2020 for the fourth consecutive year. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I was just thinking to myself that the last time I was in a room with so many teachers, I was up to no good. And it's really, truly an honor and a privilege to be here. I was also just looking at your list of schools, and I was thinking to myself that 4 of the schools, the 3 Shiv Nadar schools, I'm a trustee of, so I've seen them since inception. The Vasant Valley School, I was a student in the founding batch, so I've seen it since inception. In fact, Ms. Rekha Krishnan, who's here, was my history teacher and class teacher. So, yeah, so she's seen me pretty much since inception too. And it doesn't help that my husband Shikhar turns around and tells her, "Oh, you're tormentor in chief." So I said, no. No, I'm very privileged to be here, and through my own journey and through the Shiv Nadar Foundation, one has obviously had a tremendous exposure to educators, especially the power that you all play and the power that you all have in the formative years of a student, which is school. I find India very interesting. Since independence, there has been a larger surge of great higher education institutions in the country. Whether it's the IITs, other national institutions, private universities, Shiv Nadar University, our own SSN College of Engineering, Plaksha, Ashoka, Kriya. But the investment and the envisioning around what private schools can be in the nation is something which I still find lacking. I think we've got great schools, but most of them still exist in the urban milieu, serving urban children from relatively well-to-do backgrounds. There is of course much to be desired from our national government schools. With this thought process, about 11 years ago, the Shiv Nadar Foundation also established a school, 2 residential schools in Uttar Pradesh called the VidyaGyan Leadership Academies. They're not in your list. But it was a very humble mission for us, for myself personally. Uttar Pradesh has 200 million people. That's almost the 7th or the 8th largest country in the world by itself. And but on index of poverty, on education, it is fairly low for the country. I, of course, graduated and came from a very privileged school. Um, my mother went to Sanar, most of her family went to Doon School. Um, uh, so, the question was that if you are to provide exactly the same tools that, I got in school, what we give our children in our urban schools, if you were to provide exactly the same ingredient, what can you do with rural, underprivileged children, but meritorious, um, and and how can it change their life? And I found it an extremely interesting challenge because we induct children. There are two boarding schools. We induct children at the age of 10 or 11, boys and girls, rural, strictly rural, with families of annual income of 1 lakh and below. We perhaps at the foundation run one of the largest private search processes in the country. We used to physically test, now we're moving it online. 250,000 children every year, and we induct 400. So that is, in percentage terms, probably even much less than what an MIT or a Harvard or a IIT does. And then these children stay with us for 7 years and graduate in CBSE, in English, and go on to the same universities where students are coming out from the educational institutions you all represent and are counseling. I'm extremely humbled and excited. Our first student this year went to Stanford with a 100% scholarship. Last year, our first student went to Cornell. We've got students at Rochester, Purdue, Wellesley. Of course, in India, the NITs, the IITs, of course, Shiv Nadi University, Ashoka, SSN College of Engineering, I'm sure Plaksha also, when our students apply, multiple places. And it just challenges the notion that children that come from underprivileged backgrounds, given the same tools as today we are collectively giving to children from the urban areas which have educated parents to begin with, who can give them a platform which these children do not have, and what you can do with them. So for me, it's been a great journey. I am not an educator by profession. I'm not even a technology person by profession, but here I am in different roles that I play in life. But it's interesting and it's exciting. So this year, I'm sure a lot of you would have read the newspaper. The class 12 national topper of CBSE was Ansuya Kushwa. Most people said she was a laborer's daughter. She was a VidyaGyan student. So Mr. Banerjee is here, who is our founding principal of VidyaGyan. And we've got 4 or 5 VidyaGyan students here as well. Please interact with them. They're students right now at Shiv Nadi University, I believe. Graduates, oh, I'm so old. Okay, so they're graduates, and I'm extremely proud of them. And we've got our first batch of students who've also graduated from universities in the US. So I think that, it's just an interesting, there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Mr. Banerjee, where are you? There you are. Yeah. So he's been the founding principal of VidyaGyan. The first school, which is in Bulandshahr, which is 90 kilometers from Noida. The second school is in Sidhauli, which is about 90 kilometers from Lucknow. And so I think that it's really been a humbling journey for me and for the foundation. So it's great because in the foundation we get to have Shiv Nadi School, and then you get to have VidyaGyan, and you get to have different perspectives, students coming from different backgrounds, yet Shiv Nadar School is also doing CBSE, VidyaGyan is also doing CBSE, and the students are graduating together. So I think that we try to create enough opportunities for the students to meet as well. And, as counselors, as what we do at VidyaGyan, Shiv Nadar School, or all the schools that you represent is, I think the only way that students today can even survive as young adults in the world that you exist is you actually continue being a student. My dean at Kellogg, from business school, when I graduated, he said, Roshni, the day you stop learning, you start aging. So I said, well, I don't plan to age. So then he says, then I guess you have to continue learning. And, so I think my only thought would be, I'm not here to give you a lesson, would be that I think that if we can just continue to keep training all our students to constantly continue being students, even at the workplace, always humble enough to admit that I don't know everything, I still have much to learn from peers, learn from work, challenge yourselves. I guess that you'll be the right kind of restless without being completely mad in this mad world. So thank you so much. I just have, I thought that since most of you will not be able to visit VidyaGyan, I mean you can at some point, and I'd love you to, but I have a little video just to show you a bit of the campus, a bit about our kids, and thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
पिताजी तो हमारे ब्लाइंड थे, आँख से कम दिखता था। हम छोटेपन से जो है अपने किसी रोज़गार के चक्कर में लग गए, ज़्यादा नहीं पढ़ पाए। मैं 11वीं तक पढ़ा था। मानवी बचपन से ही तेज रही है, पढ़ने के प्रति भी उसका लगाव अच्छा था, गुरुजनों की प्यारी थी।
पिताजी भी खेती करते रहे, जहाँ तक किया वहाँ तक अच्छा 8 तक हम लोगों को पढ़ा पाया, खेती में ही जुट गए। सुमित को भी हम तो चाहते थे खेती में काम बढ़ाओ, फिर भी उन्होंने टॉप कर लिया स्कूल में। फिर हमने सोचा चलो काम तो होता ही रहेगा अपना, मगर हम लोग ये नहीं समझते थे कि ये हमारे बच्चे इतना पढ़ जाएंगे।
I was that shy little fumbling girl. With time I learned new things, and wherever I've reached, it's just because of VidyaGyan, because they have nurtured my mind with education and knowledge.
VidyaGyan gave me exposure. They made us learn English through hands-on experience. Now I'm a confident boy who is not shy. He can live a better life. He can face the outer world.
Thank you so much, Miss Roshni, for your words of wisdom.